All right, it's go time. We are live. Welcome, everyone, to the WPC Coders Podcast. My name is Nathan Keller, and I'm alongside Google's own Kevin Mulkowski and the Oprah of programming, Jeremy May. How's it going, guys?
Pretty
good.
So this week, whoa, now my YouTube's going off in my ear. That actually is quite a bit of latency. All right, so this week we're just going to kind of go through some awesome news articles that we thought was cool over the week, and take a little bit of break over topics and heated debates over what's more likely to send you to an early grave, Java or Ruby on Rails. Okay, so what do you guys think? What do you guys want to start with this week? Let's go with. I really should have done the sheet. You were right. Dude, that's a nice article. I guess we'll just start at the top. Jeremy, why don't you kick this off? You're the one who found this article.
So this week there was a article on, well, I guess I use Slashdot for a lot of my news, and one of the news articles was why designed for security is a dubious designation. And I guess I'll just read the summary. It's not too long. So the list of products designed to be security enhanced that turned out to be anything but seems to get longer by the day. In just the latest instance reported by Wired last week, the crowdfunded privacy-enhancing home router Anonbox had to be recalled after an independent researcher discovered serious security flaws in the product. But security experts caution that the real problem may be bigger than vulnerabilities hidden in application code. Designed for security products don't just have to be good, they have to be beyond reproach, explains John Dickinson, a principal at the Denim Group. All it takes is one guy with a grudge to undo you. So I guess the real question is, should we be focusing as heavily on security as we are, or is it one of those things that we, I suppose, need to just try to do the best and then work at it? Or another way to put it would be, should we market products as being super secure, or just market them as normal, I suppose, and then, you know, have the security be something on the side? I think that was the big issue that was brought up here, was that this product, the Anonbox, was marketed as being super secure and, you know, very privacy enhancing, and then, you know, it turned out not to be that case.
I have a question before I answer that question. Like, is there such thing as like a security standard?
Yes, there are some security standards.
Because it seems to me that, and I'm sure that I'm definitely wrong here, and there's somebody that says so, but it seems like for the most part, over the internet as a whole, for, you know, non-multi-billion-dollar companies, like, secure is more of a point of view, it seems, than a standard for the most part.
I've looked at I can't remember what the acronym is, so I can't look it up. But there's some like industry standardized, like, it's been so long since I've seen it. Like industry standardized ideas on how to handle security for different parts of a system. You know, at the application level, at the networking level, at the, you know, different levels in, you know, kind of a stack, kind of from all the way from, you know, coming in from the, you know, your your fiber all the way to, where it shows up on the screen for a user. There are different sort of standards for, handling the security along the way.
Yeah, I'm just doing a search. I'm finding a couple different sites.
I mean, security alone, I mean, we should always focus on it, but I mean, look at what is it, Black Phone, the one that's made to keep us secure from our own government. That had a flaw in it. That had a bug someone found. So
Yeah,
it's hard to make something completely secure unless you want your flip phone back.
I think it's a lot like. I think that security on the whole is a lot like kind of like uptime guarantees on servers. Like, there's somebody out there that can find a hole if they look hard enough. I've never seen a site that was, impenetrable by anybody. Even the CIA's been hacked, and they're considered like one of the most secure, organizations around. So.
Haven't they been hacked more than anyone?
Yeah.
They've been hacked. But the thing they in CIA and NSA they all do is their websites have been hacked, but it's not like anybody's going to be getting any top secret documentation or anything like that, because they operate what's the term, like a cold gap. They have computers and networks that never touch the internet, so the only way you can get documents out, quote unquote, is by literally going in with a thumb drive and then walking out with it.
Yeah, well, you don't watch James Bond enough, apparently. Because I've seen
isn't the right term for it.
Because I've seen exploding headrests in the back in the headrest of the plane, and that's the minute that happened, I was like, the CIA is no longer secure. It's over.
Yeah.
But
back to the original question. I mean, when I code, I make it as secure as I can. Even though knowing that someone can break it, I still try to make it secure. So, like, I expect people to break it. I just want to be able to fix it when they do. Like, I think it was, Kim.com paid people like 10 grand who could, he was going to pay $1 million to the first person who found the first flaw of his site to break the encryption.
Yeah, I was going to say, nowadays, most hackers actually end up getting jobs for what they do.
I mean,
Google and Mozilla, I definitely know Google does, and Microsoft does too. They'll pay for people to find bugs in the software.
Yeah. I know, Microsoft Microsoft didn't do it for the longest time, but like Firefox and Chrome, I don't know if it's still true, but I know you used to be able to get paid for each bug you submitted. And then like more if you fixed it or knew how to fix it. Microsoft was the biggest one against that for the longest time.
Permanent Privacy, that's the name of the company. The $1 million challenge to crack their encryption system?
Yeah. For Kim.com?
No, the company's called Permanent Privacy.
Well, so Kim.com did it for his site too. Asked them to break their encryption for file transfers.
I think I heard about that, but yeah.
To me, I think a lot of it, security, a lot of the times you have to ask yourself exactly how secure you need to be. So I think some companies place too much value into it. It's kind of like some of the sites that I make, there's not much that they could get their hands on that they would probably even be interested in.
Yeah. All my personal sites, all my code is open sourced anyway, so, or was.
Good job. You broke into something that everyone has access to.
Literally, I posted a link to the code.
It may not need to be secure, but at the same time, you need to still think about the kind of impact it will have on a product. Maybe the product doesn't handle credit card numbers or anything like that, but if you've got 100,000 people using your application or whatever it is, and you get hacked, and all of their emails suddenly get released to hackers. I mean, they're not going to be suffering identity theft probably, but suddenly they may have a whole bunch of Chinese spammers hitting their email, and you may make the announcement that we were hacked, nothing was lost, no critical privacy data was exposed except emails. It has a negative effect on the image of the product at the end.
Right. But I mean, anytime you do a database, you should be thinking about that. Anytime you hold data, you shouldn't be one of the 1,000 companies to put passwords in plain text.
Oh no.
No.
I mean, it's so easy to hash and salt stuff these days. There's no reason why you should be storing them in plain text or even just flat out hash. You should be salting everything.
Yeah.
Well, and with most languages now coming, starting to come in with like a built-in password system, they even make it where you don't even have to hash it yourself. I know that Mongo has that built in. We've been working with Parse recently. That's all built in. Meteor. About every single library, new thing that I've been kind of learning recently is just kind of came with that.
Yeah.
So the main thing that when security becomes a problem, because for the most part, most of us try to program, on the kind of the Murphy's Law method of coding, where we try to think of every circumstance that something could happen and tackle it while we code.
Yeah.
Rather than being, hey, dumbass, you took credit cards and stored them in plain text.
I mean, half the things that get broken are just common practices that you should do. I mean, just things like memory leaks, checking for those. I mean, iPhone has gotten hacked, or not hacked, but jailbroken so many times because of memory leaks.
Yes, it has.
Here's the thing: is I think Apple's finally given up. For a while, they used to have like a team of people that would try to keep up with people, but now that the courts actually finally just legalized jailbreaking your phone, pretty much.
So there was a thing Microsoft did. I actually loved what they did with jailbreaking. The first people who jailbroke the phone, they sent a T-shirt. It's like, hey, I was the first person who jailbroke the Windows Phone, and all I got was this stupid T-shirt.
I assure you that wasn't the only thing he got, though.
Literally, that's all they got was that stupid T-shirt.
It gets you a nice line on your resume. I think GeoHot can talk about that, because he was one of the first people to jail. Yeah. Shows you got skill, though.
Yep. So the next thing we were going to bring up, I found this article while I was looking at Kai's article, and it talks about this guy that is using like embedded Linux paired with Arduino boards on drones. And I mean, the article itself is really cool, but what really got me thinking about it was, that's one thing that hasn't fully happened yet, is pairing things like Arduino boards and whatever, and having things like Linux built into where the SDK doesn't go to just program the board itself, but it's it still can run a program completely in the language that you originally wrote it in. It's not compiled or like most hardware would be. And I started looking around, and I realized how many things now are starting to connect with like actual core Linux. You see that you just see it paired more and more nowadays, and it makes a whole lot more sense than just relying on straight.
I don't know if I would exactly call that like. It's one of those inevitabilities, in my opinion. Like, it's a thing with the Linux community to see what they can get running Linux.
Yeah. I mean, I do that stuff on my own with this thing. So, the Tiger K1. Or I try to. I mean, I gotta get Wi-Fi on it.
Is that the Tiger kit?
Yeah.
Huh.
So you guys think it's more about like what can I put Linux on? It's like
Yeah.
something that flies. Obviously, that's the answer.
Well,
That's what everybody's been
Linux,
waiting for.
Linux, and how fast I can parallel program the thing.
Yeah. I want to see what parallel programming on a drone.
Well, one of the teams back at my university just presented this. They put that Tiger K1 dev kit on a drone, and it was made for so it can fly around on its own. So, we tried to get one when I was doing it.
Well, see, a lot of the stuff that was looking at is basically just smarter because basically the guy's whole thing, like for instance on the drone, was he didn't touch the actual like the Arduino's flight controller stuff. He said that's there for a reason. There's a reason a lot of people use it. I see no need in messing with it. But what I can do is start to pre-process data without having to transmit it back and have the drone, and basically give commands to the Arduino boards to make smart decisions based off that data.
Yeah. So when I was finishing up my senior project at Mizzou, we made a robot that traversed the building. It mapped out a blueprint on the go, and we had a board on board that basically pre-calculated the route to wherever that bot was or wherever a object of interest was, and sent it back and showed real time what blueprint the blueprint was at that any given time. So, I mean, it was just helpful having something on board.
I think I think a lot of it is that with things like the K1 or like Raspberry Pi, there's a lot of different boards coming out that you can actually put operating system on, and without knowing a whole lot of, really low-level languages, you can still run programs to calculate, in real time, rather, a whole lot of different tasks that really wasn't necessarily available not too long ago for most people.
I mean, what's been around for a while is FPGAs. That used to be the standard when you wanted customized software, and it was really customized the processor as the board, and it did everything on the hardware level. You basically made your own processor with it, and that's what these dev boards, are being replaced with.
I like it. At the same time, what makes me wonder though is after they're done. See, if you're a guy really trying to actually make like an idea a reality, like something that you want to turn into a business, when you're done, you're not really that much closer to actually building a board because you're like, well, what have you been using? I've been using the Raspberry Pi. Well, we can't. No, you can't put that in a finalized product. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, FPGAs you can.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Speaking of which, that was actually one of the other articles that I posted on there. That arm strap, or basically the ARM company, they basically have released a board which claims to make prototyping easier that you are able to translate into a finished product. I don't know if you have your Slack up. You just start sticking all these in the descriptions and stuff.
I don't see that in the news.
Here's the thing: is we should probably start looking for full articles rather than stuff that primarily is in video, because I could post this link, but then everybody would have to stop listening to us and go watch it
Right.
in order to keep up.
All right, we'll see you in 15 minutes.
Right. Take a quick break so you guys can watch this list of videos. No, but I do think it's interesting. I think it's been really hard for startups in the past to transition from prototype to production sized board. Um, like you usually see these big, huge boards that they plug into, and then when they're done, they're like, crap. Now we have to strip all this crap down to its bare essentials. Which even in the article that we were talking about, Jeremy noticed it as well, that even ARM's version of it, which is better, but still they have so much crap built onto this board that it's still not quite there. It's an improvement over what was previously available, but
They're prototyping boards. I mean, they're not meant to be, put into full-scale production. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, as a prototype board, it lets you do many things, but eventually, when you need to build the final product, you're going to send it off to China and have them print up an optimized board for you.
So when I went to AT&T for the interview, they showed us one of the custom offices where it was just about building whatever you wanted, and they would send project ideas there to get built. And it was kind of cool because they showed us. So one of the problems AT&T had was they couldn't get their service into a stadium with normal antennas. So they had to make custom antennas to do it, and they basically sent it to the shop where they came up with this big idea and then kept compressing it down to something that was usable and it looked good, that you could throw under the seats. And it was so neat to see like the development process of that thing, because you see they were really production boards before they got sent out.
I got a solution for them. They should have just rented one of those blimps and put the antennas on that.
Not going to work in a closed stadium.
I would have been like, I would have presented it that I would be the pilot of said blimp.
I do it.
Listen, you guys need to put me in the sky. Let me fly in circles. And I will make sure everybody gets cell phone reception.
Just let me jump out afterwards. I'll do a base jump.
I'll be like the Santa of cell phone service.
Right? Throw cell phones out. Let's see how many people you could hurt before it hits the ground. The terminal velocity, that would suck.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. We can go back to this. This is another video. Next week we need to intentionally avoid videos.
Yeah.
But apparently the Google X team is working on better battery life. It's not really news. It's like, when have they not been working on better battery life?
Well, I don't think they've had a team that's been working on it. And even in the video actually stated that that it was only really a team made up of like 2 or 3 people that was sort of working on the particular problem. But I mean, it's news in the sense that when Google mentions that they've got a Google X team working on something, it's kind of a big thing because it means there's a lot of money behind it, and you know that they have some of the smartest people on the planet.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, just battery life in general. I mean, whether it's an Android, it's iPhone, Windows Phone, it all sucks. We just need to get it better. And having better battery life on anything would be awesome.
Definitely. If you ask anybody, they say that the one thing that's holding back, mobile technology in general is our batteries. It's one of the worst things.
I saw a video once. They were making fun of one of the employees that came in with like an old, somewhat bricked phone, and it was making fun of them because they weren't up to date with the smartphone. It's like, wait, how many times did you charge that today? Oh yeah, it's been 2 weeks for me. And he was right. It sucks now that we can't get 2 weeks on our phone or a month.
Here's the thing, and I think that it was pretty much Apple that kind of started the whole thing of that thinner is better. But I'm kind of at the point now where if they didn't change the thinness of this phone for 10 years, I would be fine with that.
So
Instead, give me another 2 days worth of charge on this motherfucker, and I will be fine with it.
So the problem with batteries, and I might be totally wrong, but I mean batteries have a capacity. You can't just get better technology that can store more power in the same space. You need bigger batteries.
It's a density issue, really.
Yeah. And I mean software, I really hope when I make software it'll be battery and less efficient, but I don't. I make things that are supposed to blow out the processor and use as much memory and RAM as possible, so it's not efficient. And a lot of with more cores, like phones are octa-cores now, so you plan for 8 cores instead of 1 now. So batteries are going to suck even more.
Right. I think Intel and ARM, at least on Android, particularly ARM, they've been sort of, at least for developers, they've been helping us by, optimizing and making the CPUs more efficient so that, we don't have to worry about whether or not our processor is running 100% all the time and completely draining the battery because, the processor is a lot better now than it used to be.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for the Zenfone 2 to come out because it's got the Intel Atom processor in it, which is, I think, a 14mm processor. I can't
Did you say millimeter?
Yeah, I think millimeter. I think that's what we're
You
judging.
mean nanometer?
Nanometer? Yeah. Nanometer. So 14 nanometer chip instead of what, 22 now? So it's like it could be a desktop processor. In fact, it's going in the new MacBook, but it's going to be in a cell phone now, which those things will probably be more efficient battery-wise.
Yeah, that's something Intel's been striving for a lot with all of their CPUs. I imagine AMD has been doing it too, but you just hear about. If you think about it, if you go back 7-10 years when Intel, the Pentium 3s and stuff. I mean, the Pentium 3s and the Pentium 4s, they sucked down power. Like they were over 100-watt monsters. I mean, they just consumed it. And I remember a couple years ago, Intel made the announcement that maybe it was Haswell was like it consumed only 80 watts.
Yeah.
And you know that it's just getting lower and lower. So.
Well, the Intel Atoms are only like 5 watts. Like
yeah,
they're fanless too. Like they
Yep.
don't need a fan. Like that's a full Intel processor without a fan and runs at 5 watts. In a phone.
What's the speed capabilities on that?
I think it's based with like 2.4 gigahertz up to like 3.
Wow, jeez.
In your phone with a quad core.
And no fan.
Yeah.
That's
Chip is
pretty crazy.
tiny too, which is the funny thing about it.
I don't know. More than anything, I just want my battery life back. Like I have like the Air 2, right? And I had the iPad 3, aka the iPad, because everybody forgot to count when Steve Jobs died. It was iPad 1, 2, iPad.
Microsoft.
No, 3 comes after 2. No, iPad.
Microsoft.
What the fuck is coming?
Microsoft with Windows 7, 8, 8.1, 10, and then they got Xbox, Xbox 360, and Xbox One.
The reason why they didn't do Windows 9, I think, just to go on a tangent here, is some people said that they think the theory, and I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, is that they didn't want to clash with versioning. So if you were trying to do a comparison on, like 95, 98 ME, 2000, that kind of thing, Windows 9 could potentially be confused with Windows 95 or 98.
Yeah. You would hope not, but
you would hope not, right? Exactly. You would hope
are you gonna
not.
take that chance?
But I remember back when I had my iPad 3, this actually happened. I went to San Francisco and was missing my iPad because I always used it as like I would have 2 monitors I was programming on, and then I'd use my iPad as like my task manager. Well, I missed it. I had my dad just ship it to me. About 3.5 weeks later, I got it in the mail. It was only down to like 55% battery life. I was like, "Did you have this plugged in while I was gone?" "No, it's been sitting in the same place you left it." I was like, "So this has been on for 3 weeks." I mean, granted, it was.
I mean,
Like
most devices are incredible in standby mode. Like you put your phone in airplane mode, it could probably go for like 4 weeks without ever needing to be charged if you never turn the screen on.
I don't know, 3.5 weeks on an iPad. But no, I actually talked about this on my stream one day though, and somebody looked it up that the difference between the iPad 3 and the Air was like the battery size was like a huge difference. Like the iPad 3 had such a larger battery, but that's literally all they're doing to make things smarter now is getting rid of batteries.
Yeah. Which, yeah, sucks. I mean, laptops could get smaller because you're not going to be going 10 hours or so anymore between charges. I mean, I charge at work all the time. Phones, you want it to last a day or two or 3. Especially when you're in like airports.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. What else do we have up here? We're speaking of batteries. Let's talk about the. I'll let you explain
battery
this one,
use. Sorry, say that again.
Why don't you go ahead and explain? You're talking about the article that you posted was about moving away from lithium batteries.
Right. So there's an article on phys.org. This is very, I guess you can consider it cutting edge. It usually comes from like out of research, like press releases from universities. But now there are researchers trying to find new alternatives for batteries or to just improve them. One of them is trying to find something that we can move beyond lithium-ion batteries, and the idea is to either incorporate or use magnesium. And I guess the easiest reason to explain why is, if you remember your chemistry class, a lithium ion has a +1 charge, and magnesium ion has a +2 charge. And the reason why this is important is because it can move more electrons. The ions basically describe how many electrons can be moved. So magnesium can basically move twice as many electrons as a lithium ion. And let's see here, where is this out of? This research is coming out of the Joint Center for Energy Storage Research, which is part of the Department of Energy, and the researchers have basically said that this new class of batteries will have higher voltage and higher energy. So we can at least hope that maybe in a decade or so we'll see some magnesium batteries. Of course, then we would have to worry about potentially a magnesium battery exploding and having hot burning magnesium going everywhere. I'm not sure how fond I am of that idea.
Listen, it'll all be all right.
Right?
Well,
I mean, I want to do it, I hope.
I wonder if they would even tell us, even if it was like incredibly dangerous. Like if they
Apple on it.
Oh, there'd be consumer research.
kind of like cigarette companies. They're like, it'll be fine. You're all okay. It wasn't until like a bunch of people died that they're like, oh yeah, you guys shouldn't do that.
I got a funny cigarette story on that. I was deployed and for the Navy, and over here you just have the warnings. It's like, hey, this might be able to kill you in the future. Over there, they took pictures of like people's lungs that had already died. They took pictures of like the worst possible result from just like lung cancer and smoking and anything like that, and then posted it on each of the boxes. But the thing is with sailors, they were stupid. They weren't stupid. They were more just, hey, what let's make this a game, and they picked their cigarettes for the rest of the cruise based on the worst image.
Huh?
So
Jokes on
they
them.
yeah. So they were looking at all the images and found the one that looked the worst. It's like, I want that one.
That's see, I think there was they tried to do that over here, but there was like a lawsuit against it.
Well, if you were to ever lose one, it'd be here.
Because it's kind of like like sex ed in high school, and all they show you is they show you like pictures of like the worst guy with genital warts in history, and you're like, this is what will happen to you. No, this is what happened to that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Back on topic.
Back on topic.
Not lung cancer to lung. Yeah, pictures for it.
I guess we can quickly cover the other battery news article, which I've just sort of skimmed over, and I still don't quite understand the technical details. Essentially, this pertains to lithium-ion batteries and a research group that has improved the lifetime of a lithium-ion battery. So, as many people are probably aware, you cannot... A lithium-ion battery, or just any battery in general, is not everlasting. It will eventually, get to a point where it won't hold a charge for very long. And the particular reason for this is basically microscopic materials break off when you start to recharge a battery. And a group of engineers has figured out a way to, I guess, reduce the amount of breakage. I won't explain how. It's all a lot of chemistry, but they've been able to reduce it, and I don't know if it, I don't think I saw where it mentioned by how much.
I mean, yeah, the biggest thing is, that's why you're told to charge. So only charge when it's practically dead. So you're supposed to have your phone or your laptop go up until a certain point, or like 1 or 2%, and then charge it up fully, unplug it, use it till it's back to 2%. I know Apple countered something, or did something to counter that, where they only leak through just a little bit of power through their chargers, almost to prevent that. That way you're not overcharging or trying to overcharge. You're not trying to break it as fast as possible. But still, it's not as good as it should be. And I think that's part of the reason.
Yeah.
Is there like such thing as, like, if I leave my phone in and it reaches 100%, they don't have any like fail safes to keep from overcharging my battery? Like, is it still bad for it?
Yeah, it's still...
usually.
Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say when it hits on 100%. Most charging apparatuses, so to speak, the charging apparatus on the like your phone is inside the phone, so it's not outside it, but it will switch off charging because it is possible to overcharge a lithium-ion battery, and it will blow up. So they basically will get it up to a certain point where it's holding a certain amount of milliamps, and then they'll just shut it off. And then really all you're running on is straight juice. You should be just running on straight juice coming in from the cord. You're not running on the battery.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's the whole thing about leaking in a certain amount of power just to keep it charged, but not overcharge it.
But I do believe that not using your battery for an extended amount of time will also cause the health of it to degrade, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So, one of the biggest things you're told when your battery starts degrading is to, like, 3 or 4 times, let it die, charge it up to 100%. As soon as it hits 100, take it off, let it die again, or use it till it dies again, charge it up, and do that 3 or 4 times. It'll extend it quite a bit.
Right.
So it looks like everything else that we have has to do with some kind of wearable or augmented reality or.
Well, there was the Microsoft compiler thing.
Oh yeah. Well, I want to touch on the wearable thing.
Well, let's touch on the wearable thing.
I don't think we've ever. I mean, not in wearables as far as wristwatch, because that's kind of what everybody's talking about this year. But I think next year is going to be like a huge year for like VR.
Oh, for VR, yeah.
Um,
Well, it'll be a huge thing for VR if Oculus Rift ever gets their consumer version now. I don't think they've ever. I mean, they keep claiming that. I think the last time I saw it, it's supposed to be out Q2 of this year, but I mean, they've not really made any announcements whatsoever about it.
I really think the founder of VR just plans on going to like conventions for the rest of his life.
I mean, I would. If I got the kind of money he got.
That's pretty much all he does now. They're like, oh, we got a new version, cool. I'm gonna take that to the next 10 conferences in a row. Like that's all he does is go to like PAX conferences and shows it off, and that's pretty much all Oculus has done for the last year.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice when they released it.
Yeah. Here's a question: what tech company doesn't have VR right now? Because that list is getting kind of short. Like I was reading Razer has a VR headset now. Samsung has one, which is kind of they joined in with Oculus.
Sony has one. Microsoft has one. Although I don't know if I would call Microsoft's one exactly VR. They're aiming more for augmented reality with that one.
I mean, I have had so many people try to predict what happens. Well, what will happen with VR, and I hope they're wrong but a lot of people think it's not going to go anywhere like 3D TVs.
It's really hard to say. There's I think gaming will obviously be the thing that pushes it, even though it's not really the thing that interests me very much.
Yeah, but no, somewhat hardcore gamer is ever gonna use that, I think. I mean, when I'm playing casually, I just jump on my bed and play on the TV. I don't want some glasses on my face. And when I'm playing more hardcore, I have my monitor for that because it's so quick.
The problem with that statement is hardcore is not a market anymore.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a market it hasn't been a market for almost a decade now, I would say. I mean, it's all about casual gamers these days.
I mean, tell that to a couple companies, though.
Betty Crocker doesn't have a virtual reality headset. I found a company that doesn't.
Does Walmart?
Xerox doesn't. Neither does Cisco.
Walmart.
Yeah, but you never know. Xerox might have just given theirs away.
That's true.
You got to collect 50 box tops. 50 box tops, and they'll give it away.
I guarantee you that if you would, that would be funny to like go looking through. I bet there's a Xerox engineer out there that knows that back in the '80s when VR first was introduced and was said to be the next big thing. I bet Xerox actually probably did had a research team working on it.
They came out with virtual reality similar to the Oculus Rift. They made one prototype in 1975 and then they never touched it again.
Xerox worked with Kodak to do it.
That's right.
If that was true, then it's going to go live, or it's going to be a huge hit, because that's apparently their record.
Did you? We were looking at this the other day. Did you know that it's Kodak, right?
It's Kodak, yeah.
Yeah. Had a computer with a GUI interface on the market.
Oh, that was Xerox. Somebody were talking about digital
Xerox.
camera.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, it's Xerox. Wait, hold on. Now I'm confused. Xerox. Is it Xerox?
I don't know.
God, now I'm confused. One of the two companies had whoever basically Steve Jobs and Bill Gates stole the GUI and object-oriented programming from. They had a computer on the market for 6 years that did both those things. They still only sold 2,000 units. So they had this thing in production for 6 years and still didn't sell anything. And then basically, like, that's what their entire company history looks like, is a bunch of monumentally, like, huge, what do you call it? Lack of implementations. Like, was it OLED? I think it was OLED. No, maybe it wasn't OLED. It was one of the screen types that they had, like, back in the late 90s that we're just now starting to use as, like, the latest technology, but they've always had it. They just never used it.
You know what I find funny in terms of that? Like the Retina display, isn't that like made by Samsung, but Samsung doesn't use it in their own product?
Yes, that's true. I heard that. Yeah, Samsung was. I don't know if they're still making them, but I do know that at one point Samsung was making the screens for the iPhones and most of the Retina stuff. By the way, the OLED screen was Kodak. I actually just Googled it. So so Ching W. Tang was the inventor of the groundbreaking electronics device, the OLED. And efficient OLEDs of small molecules were first developed by Tang at the research department of Eastman Kodak Company in the 1970s.
Wow. I think the only product they ever put it in was like a 1992 digital camera. They never used it again.
Wow.
They one time that they do use it, it's probably in like $100 phone, like a camera too.
Well, the thing that I was just mentioning a minute ago was the fact that, and we talked about this. There was a digital camera back in 1975, but it was made by Kodak, and they never did anything with
it. There's so many companies, like literally, they like when they gave away object-oriented programming and the GUI interface to Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, how many millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars have they lost because of dumb stuff like that?
I still think it's funny that a lot of the things that have been invented in the United States by researchers have eventually gone on to be made into profitable products by other countries. I mean, in the case of Kodak, the companies that eventually turned to digital cameras into huge things was Japan with Nikon and Canon. They took it and ran with it.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay, so I was looking it up. It is Razer that came out with that virtual reality. What is the other companies that we were talking about that were doing it as well?
Sony's got one. Sony's might be interesting because they're trying to make it wireless. They don't think having they're trying to make it wireless and light, I believe, is what they're trying to do. Although I'm highly skeptical that they'll actually ever release it because Sony's bleeding money like nobody's business.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for the companies that went in with Razer, which actually is quite the team. If you were going to expect some companies that come out with something, pretty, was because Leap Motion, Gearbox, Nod, 6 Sense, and Sensix.
Yeah, Leap
are the
Motion
companies that went in with Razer.
The interesting thing about I just remembered it, was that the Razer's VR set's supposed to be open source.
Yeah. See, the big problem I have with all this virtual reality stuff is it, like anything we've ever seen before that was going to be huge. It's not until one platform can make it and make it a big thing all in one place, that it finally takes off and allows other places to be popular. It's not the other way around where 20 different versions of the same thing comes out and they all get popular. Like if you look at it, like for instance, like the record industry, every record company individually tried to come out with digital purchasing programs, and none of them worked. They all failed miserably. If you guys remember Real Player, you remember that? All of them failed. It wasn't until like iTunes came out that people finally bought into that crap. I think the same thing's going to happen with VR. They're going to be like, I'm not going to choose between 30 versions of the same thing. Like, why don't you guys kind of like, I don't know, group together so that we can all, so we don't have to choose between 30 different platforms.
I think the biggest problem with VR isn't going to be necessarily, you know, finding somebody that makes it successful. It's going to be finding ways to, you know, make games for VR that people can play for more than an hour. Because right now the biggest problem with VR is the fact that almost anybody that has an Oculus Rift has said that, you know, after they've had it on for an hour, they've got to take it off. They've got a headache or they're feeling nauseous. There's a lot of researchers out there that are trying to figure out. I don't have the article, but this just came to mind. There was a researcher that discovered that if they put it in the screen for like a video game, if they put like a fake nose sort of in your view, it actually reduced the amount. You could play a video game a lot longer than you usually would be able to before getting sick. I mean, it didn't make it incredibly better. Like they put some people on the. Have you seen the roller coaster sim for the Oculus Rift? It's pretty.
Yeah. I saw one like that. One was skydiving, flying.
And I've read a lot of articles on this actually. A lot of it has to, like the feeling that people get when they get queasy is actually the natural sense that the body gets from like being. I don't know what you'd call it. It's basically like a detached feeling, where my body knows it should be, like my body is tricked that it should be moving, yet it doesn't. It doesn't feel the movement that should be happening that correlates with what your eyes are seeing.
I should know the term for it because I took a sensory perception class in college, but the easiest way to describe it is if you've ever been like sitting in your car at a stoplight and like had two like semi-trailers like pull up on both sides of you, and then the semi-trailers start going before you, and then you look out the side and you see it. You have that moment where you think you're moving, but you know you sort of realize you're not moving, but you still feel like you're moving. It's your environment is moving, but your brain's it's you know what you're seeing in your brain thinks, you know, because of the, you know, your inner ear telling you whether it's moving or not. It conflicts.
Yeah. It's kind of like the. Did you ever go to the? Oh, what are they called? Where they project all the stars around the room and rotate it around. When I used to go to those things at the museum when I was a kid, I always felt like I was rocking. Yeah, the planetarium. Those things always made me feel like I was moving. But no, I think it's pretty much the same issue, and I'm not sure if there is a way to 100%. I noticed that people, though, remember when they started combining the Oculus Rift with the running thing?
The 360 treadmill thing?
Yeah. I noticed that there's a lot of people said that they didn't feel that they tried the Oculus Rift before and they didn't feel the same kind of motion sickness because they were actually moving.
That'd be fun to try, actually.
I think so too.
Stuff. Too big and bulky, though, is the problem.
Right. I mean, no one's actually going to have that in their apartment or their house and play. I mean, a lot of people would lose weight doing that, but.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's what I told myself when I got the Kinect.
Yeah, but you have to have stuff to play on the Kinect.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's the problem overall. Definitely on the PC platform is there's no standard way of programming for like the Oculus Rift or one of the 30 other versions. What developer is really going to go through and make sure that all these different devices work for every game they make?
Yeah. So there's kind of a cool thing. I told you guys I got the Project Tango kit, and there was a test where it was almost a simulated block placing thing. That it'd be cool if like Minecraft integrated that into the Oculus Rift into their game, to where you could walk around and actually place stuff while seeing the virtual reality.
Yeah. I was seeing I've seen some of the demos where you actually do walk around in a room attached to like an Oculus, and they basically like it's kind of like they use like the Oculus Rift, but then they actually use the dimensions of rooms in your house as like a way to allow you to get up and interact with your house. Yet it's a game. Yet you're in your house. I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems was the biggest game of all time when it came to potentially being on the Oculus Rift pulled out. Minecraft was supposed to be a game made for the Oculus Rift.
Yeah.
Minecraft. It's just
What's funny? Here's what actually happened. Is what's his name? Starts with an N.
Notch.
He made this big old thing about it, and he's like, when Oculus Rift got bought out, he was like, "That's it, we're not making Minecraft anymore for the Oculus Rift." When in reality, it was because he was in talks with Microsoft, who said, "You will not program for the Oculus Rift if we're going to buy you." So, but he made it all about them getting bought out by Facebook. When in reality, it's like, no, don't program something that's for Facebook.
Yeah.
They're kind of a competitor of ours.
Forgot who made it. Facebook, yeah.
Yeah.
Or who bought them.
Yeah, Facebook. Which is just one of the weirdest buys of all time.
I mean
it's
Amazon
cool.
bought Twitch, so.
What was that?
I said, Amazon bought Twitch, so.
Yeah. Well, did you guys see what was it, F8, where they had the whole 360-degree SDK that they released for Facebook, where you could actually make posts that would give you 100 or a 360-degree view? It's like posting a picture, but instead you're posting like the actual place almost.
Oh man, I saw one of those at the GPU conference. Someone had a phone where you could turn around and you see this like a full 4K resolution of just one big picture, and you could turn around and see the full 360 up and down and side to side and everything. It was so cool.
See, I think that's where Facebook's going to end up going with the Oculus Rift. They're going to find a way to make money off of it. They sure as hell didn't buy it to not make money on it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I thought they bought it mainly to turn it into like the next version of video conferencing.
I think that eventually those kind of things will start happening. But anyway, yeah. So this next year I think will be huge for VR. I don't think that we'll see any winner. I think we'll see a lot of companies meet an early grave because there's too many of them.
Yeah.
What else do we got? Oh. Well, we kind of did we talk about this last week? There was an article that Jeremy posted.
I don't
that
actually
pretty much
see
watched
any of this, so.
that actually watched the Apple Watch pretty much fail miserably. On was it who were they sitting down with? The Wall Street Journal. The fact is that like 90% of the applications nobody had an actual watch to test it on, so they have no idea if it actually works or not.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, you can't 100% kill Apple Watch developers for that. Like the same thing happens on Android applications like every year, and iOS 8. Like you have to ship it hoping that all the stuff that's coming out in the new models will actually function the way that the emulator does. Like it's.
I mean,
But,
that was.
I mean,
Sorry,
you go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say that was happening with the new consoles too. I mean, all the
yeah.
game developers never knew how to build for the console, so they just made the best possible PC ever, and was like, build for that, and then we'll downgrade, which is weird because there's no great PC ports for it.
Yeah. Well, and even things like Grand Theft Auto, which is great, by the way, on PC. Oh my
Sweet.
God, it's gorgeous. But even they came like, how long has it been since that game came out?
Well, they did it right, in my opinion. They teased the fans. Like they've done this so many times where they go for a few years and they tease the fans and almost work you up to a point where you're gonna go crazy if you just don't have that game. And then they release it and it's huge. And like you don't get that anymore with like Modern Warfare or Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or any other game. So they're doing it right, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and to me, you get it. Like, here's the thing: like this year, I think that for games, well, over the last year for games, has been a struggle for developers because they have to make promises about things that they don't know about, which you see a ton of games getting pushed back.
Yeah.
But then all the things that they thought they were making that they could put into a game, all of a sudden they're having to strip down in order to keep the frame rate up. And yet they never. And then basically, if they want to release a PC version, they have to go and put all that crap back in. But I mean, but on the Grand Theft Auto version, yeah, it was like full 4K, like all like. It would take a GTX 980 to run this thing at 4K. Like they maxed that sucker out. Like I think it's the first game this year that has come out, as opposed to like Unity. Unity was like, oh, finally the console versions are out. Oh crap, PC version. Like most game, as opposed to previous years, nobody did anything special that I've seen specifically for PC, which is the only platform that can actually handle anything the developers can throw at it.
So yeah, I have a 780 Ti, so I will be trying that one day. I want to wait till mods come out and do some cool stuff with that.
I think that's the big thing behind the PC platform. Like, here's the thing: like, Grand Theft Auto 4 was terrible, but when you put mods on it, that was one of the
modded
coolest.
GTA 4 was awesome.
Yeah, it was. So many cool things came out of that. It's kind of like Skyrim. Like, I played it on 360, but I didn't realize how cool it actually was until I added a couple mods to it and saw the high-res upgrades. And yeah, it's gonna be sweet.
Coming back on topic, I mean, I think the consoles, comparing, developing games for consoles is probably the closest analogy. I don't, like, you were saying that, releasing onto a phone was sort of, was similar, but I don't really think it is, because, I mean, for the most part, unless you're using some, like, super brand new feature, like, near field communication, the RFID stuff, all you need to really know is sort of kind of the specs, how fast the processor going to be, and most apps don't require full processors to run. But I mean, when you have something like the Apple Watch, where the hardware is completely different, and that the processor isn't going up; it's technically being scaled down. So you need to start thinking about different things, and the UI is completely different from the phone, whereas on Android and any of the iPhones, that the UI isn't going to change drastically between each new phone, so you can sort of plan for that. But
the hard thing about the difference, because they did want it for battery life reasons, and it's a smart thing to do, and you do the same on Android, is that you want the app to do a whole lot of the processing for you, so that way you can keep the memory. You don't have to bulk up your hardware on the watch by having to keep a bunch of memory. You can limit that. You don't have to do a whole lot of processing. You can let the phone do a lot of the work. But the problem is that, like, on the app, my phone knows when the app's open, when it's been backgrounded, when it's whatever, but my phone can't anticipate for the watch when I'm going to flip my wrist over. and then all of a sudden we have to drag all these things into the foreground. Like they are not 100% aware of each other all the time.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And you just can't have that constant connection because that's a constant drain on battery life.
Yeah, I mean, that brings us back to the first 45 minutes of our conversation.
Yep. But yeah, the connectivity, I think, is the big thing that developers need to emulate that they can't emulate without the real deal, because your phone, your computer has perfect conditions all the time, and it's definitely not far enough in the development cycle or the APIs to be able to simulate definite issues that not just can happen, but will happen a lot of the times. Like I left my phone on the other side of the house. I've got my watch. I flipped my wrist over. There's a slight delay, and all of a sudden, none of the data's in sync.
I think one of the big things that Apple could do to at least make it easier for developers, and it may even be there, is just for the simulator in Xcode, they need to add in simulating delays with responses from the simulator, like the simulated watch. So that would give you a better idea as a developer how to go about tackling those particular issues instead of assuming all the time that it's going to be absolutely instantaneous. I mean, but that's the case with just about anything you program, though. If you're working anything with networking, you sort of have to account for that.
Yeah, well, and I think what makes it so much harder is it goes beyond your typical internet. Like for instance, on the emulator on any platform out there, you simulate how fast the network's working. Well, this isn't necessarily just a network issue, because there's a lot of different things at play beside. Like you do still have the network issue, but you also have like the length that how far away you are from the watch also will determine how good your connectivity is, which will determine how fast you can transfer data. Like that's a lot of extra crap. Beyond just slow down the internet to see what happens at slow speed. But I think even Android still doesn't have a full range of simulators for that kind of stuff.
I don't think they do.
The one thing that Apple had working against themselves from the beginning, unlike Android, is there's 10 different companies making watches on the very first version.
Yeah.
They all can kind of learn from each other. Apple doesn't have that luxury.
No. Apple's probably going to make their own stuff and not use it or reuse. Maybe they will. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the biggest problem. They got to learn on their first gen, which means, like a point we brought up last week was the fact that there is a first gen or a second gen or any engine, that your watches will become obsolete.
Yeah. Well, did you notice that the one thing that Apple's never talked about, which is the one thing they always have talked about with every single new device they've come out since the Mac, which is speed, performance, specs. They've always been big about stuff. All of a sudden, the Apple Watch comes out, and they're like, "Look how pretty it is! You can draw penises and send them to your friends." They completely skipped over the technical part of it. They're like, it's pretty.
Yeah.
The penis thing still works, even if it's slow.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, yeah. That's kind of going back to the roots when they did the same thing before.
Yeah. It just occurred to me that I've never heard them talk about. I still don't know what the specs are in that damn watch. I have no idea how much memory.
Small battery.
It has a tiny battery or a hamster stuffed inside of it.
Hamster would last longer.
It's crazy that I've built. I'm halfway through an Apple Watch app, and I still have no idea.
It has an Apple S1 CPU on the chip, 8 gigabytes of storage, and it's got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4, and the near field communication field, the NFC.
What about RAM? NFC on a watch would be cool.
I'm assuming the RAM's that 8 gigabytes because I don't see it listed anywhere else.
That's actually one of the small things I'm looking forward to, is like being able to go to a hotel, walk past the gate, because basically my watch becomes the room key without ever talking to the front desk.
Yeah.
The processor, if they keep putting their name on the I think they keep putting their, well, I'll process this thought one thing at a time. I think they're putting their name on the processor because they really don't want you to have a comparison to anything else.
Yeah.
It's like Apple S Watch. Duh. Like, yeah, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, right.
Is it like an i7 in a phone, or is it like the...
Are there specs for that? The processor?
For what?
For the actual processor?
On the Apple Watch?
Yeah.
Let's see here. It's the Apple S1.
See? Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah, I just followed the link, and it has nothing in terms of, clock speed or anything.
Or cores, or if there's multiple, or...
I wonder what S1 even, like, if the S has any value to it.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't know the actual specs for any of the other watches, so...
Yeah. I think at some point, though, that's a natural step that we're gonna have. It's gonna be like, I remember. Wait, here's us 10 years from now. I remember back in my day when you had to pull your phone out of your pocket to do complex tasks.
Good. I hope I don't sound like that in 10 years.
You will. You will. You kind of sound like that now. Just
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah, I cannot find. Wait, hold on, what's this?
Well, and see, every one of their processors has like 30 sub-processors inside of it, so it's pretty much impossible to...
Right.
That's one of the things they've been...
Nope. I can't find anywhere within, just a couple Google searches where it mentions what the clock speed is on that S1 chip.
I found a wiki, but it's called a S1, which is short for System in Package. And Samsung's supposed to be the supplier. It has RAM, NAND flash storage, and the assembly itself inside of it. It says nothing about clock speed, though.
Nope.
Wow.
Apple's really good at putting a pretty face on something and not allowing anybody to look under the hood.
Yeah.
I remember on the iPhone 4, they removed all the screws and put in like some special screw that you could only open with like an Apple tool to be able to get inside of it.
A lot of laptops do that now, which sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't even open my anything Apple. You really wouldn't even. You can't open it to do anything with it because
Yeah.
it's all freaking soldered in there. So it's like you can't replace anything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure you're like definitely the watches are going to be unfixable. If you have to take it to an Apple store, they're pretty much just going to hand you a new one and throw it away.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, that's how
I think-
MacBooks are now.
Yeah, I mean, they'll pretty much just take out your motherboard, put a new one in it, replace your hard drive in. That's how it works.
No, I've heard that pretty much. I think it's more of a rumor, but I've heard that with the MacBook Pros, they pretty much, if the hard drive, or not the hard drive, if the battery's bad on them, they just give you a new one. Because apparently the battery is in the monitor itself, the screen, and they've epoxied the crap out of it so badly that it doesn't even make sense to even try to pry the battery out and solder a new one in. So it's just, in terms of man hours, it's easier just to give the customer a completely brand new MacBook Pro.
Yeah. Which tells you how much they're worth.
I think we're going to see a new MacBook Pro now.
I mean, I thought we did. I thought there was a 2015 version for the 13-inch.
Oh yeah, for the 13-inch. Well, that's because it didn't get Retina. this last round. This is only the 15-inch, which I saw coming, but they haven't done any serious upgrades to the Pro in general,
No.
other than Retina on the last year's.
I'm waiting for the DDR4 laptops.
Yeah, me and Nate were talking about DDR4. You can't buy. No, sorry, we were talking about DDR5. You can't buy DDR5 chips.
Well, there is no DDR5 chip.
Yep, there is.
No,
It's
there's
called
GDDR5.
GDDR5, which,
That's-
in my opinion,
But GDDR5 is based on DDR3 memory. It's just clocked for GPUs. It's still DDR3 memory.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, there is no DDR5. It's just DDR3 with a
It's
different
just
number.
simply branding then.
Yeah.
So, what else do we have to talk about?
I don't actually see the list, so.
There's something here about a nano sandwich.
I talked about that earlier.
There's a lot of battery stuff on here.
Yeah, I added it all.
Battery binged.
I just added it all at once because it appeared that on Fizzorg it was the week's news. It was like the week in the month for battery news. I guess like a whole bunch of press releases from academic journals came out on new, battery research being done and stuff.
Is this? I don't know. It still shows us as upcoming on Watch People Code. That's probably why we don't have many people in here.
Viewers. Yeah, I was going to mention that later, but
yeah, that's fine. They'll be able to catch it on the podcast, which is on iTunes.
Yeah,
I'm
finally.
gonna plug that everywhere now. That's I'm not gonna buy a sandwich from a guy at freaking Starbucks without telling him about the podcast. It's like, dude, just
That'd be $3.
if you wanted your
$3
receipt, I didn't
podcast.
need your life story about your hobby.
did you want to cover the .NET thing?
.NET. Oh yeah, we just kind of, you mentioned it, and then I was like, I'll just skip over that. Yeah, Microsoft's moving to LLVM.
Yep, they'll be building a LLVM-based compiler for .NET, which I actually don't know what LLVM is. I'm assuming it's a open source specification for virtual machines.
I've heard of LLVM. I've seen it. I don't actually know fully.
LLVM is the same compiler that Apple uses.
Ah, that's where I saw it.
Which means that technically that .NET applications should be able to be, because it's the same compiler, which means it's the same virtual machine, which means it could be possible to run Microsoft apps on Apple's computers.
But
I think that I think their whole entire strategy is to take over. Like, they're like, fine, we can't get our operating system market share back. We'll just make all our software available everywhere. So whether people like it or not, they're still using us.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that the LLVM, the big thing is that LLVM is open source for one. So if the big thing is that they're essentially what it means is they're open sourcing the .NET compiler. And a lot of the current .NET open source compilers that exist, like Mono, I think is one of them, they're good enough, I think I've heard, but they still leave something to be desired. And essentially what this means is that Microsoft is starting to branch out, trying to take up more market share with .NET in particular and C#, because Java essentially is, I wouldn't say open source, but Java runs on every platform, Linux, OS X, Windows. I mean, they have a bigger market share on the in the enterprise, and I think that's something that Microsoft wants to sort of take over in other places.
Yeah, it just seems that for a long time, I think that Microsoft's finally gotten to the point where they realize that they have been fighting the trend for so long
Yeah. I
that
mean,
it hasn't gotten them anywhere.
it seems like they tried that with Office first to see if it would work if they brought it to everything. I mean, I thought they brought it to Android and iOS also
Hmm.
for free,
Now,
actually.
Office has been on OS X for years. They've
Uh,
had an OS X team that's makes the Office suite for the Mac for quite a long time.
Office was originally developed for Apple until basically Steve Jobs pissed off Bill Gates, and then he made it for Microsoft only. But the original Office applications were actually made for Mac, and there was no Windows.
Oh,
yeah.
what was the
It wasn't
there
called
used
Office, but yeah.
oh shoot, what the freak was that called? I don't know if you remember. It's probably not separate now, but there used to be two separate suites of kind of like Office-based applications that Microsoft released. There was the Office suite, which had all its stuff, but then they had like, oh man, I remember like my high school had them on some of the systems, and they were like teaching you how to use. Uh, it was like this. It was like a knockoff copy of Microsoft Word, but it was made by Microsoft. I can't remember what it was called.
Oh, I actually. Let me
But
see here.
they had like knockoffs for all of their main Office suite utilities. So they had Excel. There was PowerPoint. There was Word. I think there may have been even one for Access. But like, oh crap! What was that called?
Oh, I'm looking through their history. I remember this too. They used to have Publisher 98, which was meant for photos.
The Publisher was
That's been a while.
It was a long time. That was Windows
well,
98.
Publisher still put it out. It's part of the Office suite. Um,
Uh,
oh man, I'm not gonna be able to remember it. Crap.
Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Mail, i386, PowerPoint, Microsoft Office Manager. I don't know. I don't see it. They don't go into too much detail on Wiki, but I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But going back to what we were talking about, they used to have Groove. I remember that.
A lot of those packages still exist.
But it's one of those things. I think that Microsoft got into this bad habit of rather than making, because they are a software company. If you think about what they are and what they do, they have some products, but for the most part they are a software company. And so for a software company to, it doesn't make sense for a software company to say, no, we're only gonna work for us. But you're a software company. If nobody's buying that, then who else are you going to sell it to?
I found it. Just to put it out there, it was called Microsoft Works.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, they were a lot bigger when laptops, weren't seemingly dying off. I mean, look at Chromebooks. $250 for a thing that does pretty much what most people want. You don't need the full OS anymore. And so people stop buying regular laptops. So, I mean, you kind of have to, if you're Microsoft, you got to go to different products.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's funny that they're getting back to software. Like, for instance, they have that team that's developing the whole, it's kind of like a, like hacking basically Android phones and turning them into Microsoft phones. Like they realize that their problem is that they can't get people to buy their products because they're not a product company. They're a software company. So they're definitely, I think, turning back to, well, then let's find a way to get our software out there.
The one thing that The one thing that makes me wonder is are they trying to get back to a hardware company? Are they trying to build Windows phones out more? Are they trying to sell tablets? Like I get they're trying to sell it, but is that going to turn them back into a semi-hardware company?
I think they're floundering, honestly.
Yeah, I think that definitely 10 is their. I think 10's good. I don't know if it's too little, too late, but it's definitely everything that everybody wished that 8 was. But if you think about it, the only two products they actually have to sell that are doing any good at all is like the Surface Pro 3 and the Xbox. That's it.
Yeah, well,
neither one of those are really computers.
the Xbox is always going to sell well. They got their name on it. The tablet, like the tablets themselves, I have a friend who has the Surface Pro 2 or 3, I don't know, loves it. Loves everything about it, but it's expensive too.
Yeah, it's $1,000. They have nothing to compete like an iPad Mini or like a Samsung Tab. They have nothing to compete in that market.
Yeah. Well, I mean they do because they claim power, but a lot of tablets don't need power.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing that they're doing, like with Windows 10, this is going to be the big change, is that they're trying to make it to where if I'm a developer, right, and kind of bringing this back to a developer's perspective, I can make an app made for Windows 10, and it will work on a phone or a tablet or Xbox or whatever. Like it's universal, which they tried to do with 8 but failed miserably.
I mean, Java just tries that, so it doesn't work all the time.
Yeah, well, but their problem with Windows 8 was that they pushed their own agenda. Was we want everybody to have the tablet experience? Well, no, I'm on a desktop. I don't give two shits about your tablet experience. I can't flick through freaking what. And I'm not buying a touchscreen monitor. I have no need for that. So they're kind of getting back to, PC's a PC and Xbox is an Xbox and phone's a phone. But we're going to make it so that at least developers don't have to program the same thing 3 different times or 4 different times.
Wasn't there a period where they wanted to rename 10 to just Windows?
Yep, and pull an Apple.
It wouldn't surprise me. But I don't know offhand if that's the case or not.
Out of all the big tech companies out there, I think Google's the only one who hasn't gone to a stupid naming convention. They still count from 1 to 2. It's like they have so many brilliant minds that processing simple numbers like from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 like eludes them.
I really wish we'd start out with 0. I'd make it better. The Nexus 0.
The Nexus 0.
I'm just kind of looking through some of the, I guess you call it the change log for Windows 10, and I don't know if it's even still there anymore, but it's funny that they have to mention this as like a new experimental options, including word wrapping, control key shortcuts, and counsels, such as pasting text using Control V at the command prompt.
What? That's experimental in Windows?
Yeah, if you haven't opened up a command prompt, but you can't do Control V in command prompt and have it paste text.
Yeah,
I guess it's been so long that since I've used a Windows command prompt that I've forgotten that they never had it.
Yeah, but didn't Microsoft just give up on the command prompt in Windows 95?
Oh yeah, they did. But it's one of those things for administrators that are obviously going to be in command prompt quite often, doing different things. It's just one of those things that it blows my mind that it's taken so long for them to put in place. Because I use command prompt quite often for different things, and you're in command prompt if you're using a lot of development tools quite often on Windows. So
I
not
mean,
being able to,
Linux, I'm in terminal 90% of the time, so
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is it's like
sorry.
there's even Mac. Like I love Mac, but Mac by itself isn't awesome. All the things that developers make for Mac is what makes it awesome. Like Apple's been really smart about that over the years. Is we realize that our platform ain't shit without all the people that make stuff for it. So they've always like gone out of their way to make sure that they have really awesome stuff that they can do with it. It blows my mind though that somebody somebody at Microsoft was like, dude, let's put copy paste into the command prompt, and somebody sitting next to him was like like dude, that is so next level.
Yeah.
It's blowing my mind that they're just now doing it.
There's going to be a Maps app on the Windows 10 as well as an Xbox app.
Did you guys see the thing with like Windows Live where all the gamers where they try to bring live from Xbox to PC, and all the PC gamers were like, so are we gonna have to pay for this? What's up? And the guy was like, no, this is gonna be free. So all the Xbox people freaked out too, and it's like, yeah, you can't make anyone happy.
Pretty much.
I actually have the developer preview, and I'm on the no, I'm not. I was. No, I still am because I've always been on it. Anyway, I've been on the developer, like the beta tester for Xbox for a long time. And supposedly next month you're supposed to be able to stream games from your Xbox to your PC, or like a Windows device, just in general.
Yeah, but NVIDIA's been trying to do that for what, 4 years now? And they're pretty successful with it, but
Yeah, well, and I mean, you've had like for instance, Steam. I've been using Steam in-home streaming for about 2 years now, and I think that I don't think that Microsoft would be screwing with it if they didn't already kind of have it down, and it seems like a lot of other companies are kind of already getting it. But I know for a fact that's why they got, why they even came out with the app for Windows. Is because, well, crap, people are hogging the TV in the living room. Well, I'll just, pull out my laptop and plug my controller into it, and I'm good to go. I personally don't ever deal with that. God, it sucks so bad when I get like an hour, maybe 2 hours a week to play video games, and every time my freaking girlfriend's in there watching like Cutthroat Kenshin, and that's the only option I have to enjoy my evening. I could go back and do more work, or I could watch Cutthroat Kitchen.
So you gotta watch Cutthroat Kitchen.
Did we have anything else on the
Batteries?
news? Batteries. This is the battery episode. It's like we didn't declare an official topic, but it's become batteries. ARM set to improve battery life for the Internet of Things. The Internet of Things has been so huge this year. Like both Facebook, lots of social SDKs. Like everybody's programming for IoT devices, and I'm not 100% sure where they think it makes sense.
I don't know. It feels like I've been hearing about the Internet of Things for like the past decade now, and it's just like they keep saying it's this year or it's next year, and it's I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, back in 2000s, people were talking about the ideas of fridges that would be able to monitor your food and tell you you need to get this on your phone, or order the food for you even. So it's just like, and we still don't have that. And I don't know. The amount of things that need to be connected to the internet still just isn't there. Like the extent of the Internet of Things that I've heard of in terms of ideas has been essentially the Nest. And so both for like home heating and cooling, as well as I think they've incorporated lights. So being able to when you pull up in your driveway, all the lights in your house come on, or as you walk around your house, the lights come on and off as you go.
What was that platform? They didn't really offer like specific devices, but they offered a platform. What was it called? Wemo? I think it's Wemo. Like a lot of companies could make devices for this platform, and you could control them all in one central location. Yeah, it's Wemo. But to me, the wrong things are like parse. I understand parse. That's cool. Why the fuck do I need to connect my, whatever it is that I'm building to Facebook? I don't see any kind of situation when most...
Why do you need my birthday, email, social security number, all my friends list, Google Plus address?
It's like you're going to meet an investor, and it's like my hardware can calculate and answer the meaning of life. Well, does it post to Facebook? Damn it! That's it. Don't want it. This device cures cancer. Yo, if I can't share it with my friends, then fuck you.
If I can't tweet while I'm getting cured of cancer, then it's not worth it. Nathan is 2% cured of cancer.
Well, I can pull out your phone. Yeah, who wants to do that?
Right?
It's ridiculous. Man, this episode I completely screwed up. I was going to say before we began, I meant to earlier, that we got like the clean language official stamp of approval by Apple, and in the last 10 seconds I just completely screwed that up. So I'm actually considering going back and bleeping myself now. I was a little proud. No, I curse a lot. And I shouldn't. But when I saw the clean language thing on our iTunes page, I was like, damn right I don't curse. You know what? It's funny. I haven't even intentionally done that, but thinking back, no, I actually haven't cursed on any of the podcasts before.
I actually don't think I have. I've been really good about it, which for a prior sailor is completely surprising.
Right? They had to chuck your name.
This Internet of Things actually just reminded me of something. I'm wondering if it's out yet. Amazon mentioned that they'd be releasing an SDK for their Echo.
That'd be cool.
Interests me. I don't know if it's going to incorporate all the things that I would want to be able to do with the Echo, though. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the podcast before, but I really wish Google and Apple, with their Siri and Google Voice, would somehow build an SDK that allows you to add more commands to it, instead of just the set commands that exist within.
Oh my God! Yeah. Well, and they were talking about how, like, I think we were reading that Mac is like supposedly going to release like a personal assistant Siri type of thing for Mac, and I was like, no, why would they do that before they actually gave a Siri API? Like, that's what sucks about both of those things. Cortana too. Like, none of them give developers access to that API. So the only thing that those things can do is help you with like the pre-installed applications, but not the apps that you use. I don't know, like 90% of your day.
Just make a paperclip.
What kind of paperclip? Like,
I think you're trying to send an email. Would you like help with that?
I was watching an episode of, I think it was Adventure Time or something, and they had that thing, and I was like, oh my God, So many kids watching this right now that
I have
will
no
not get
clue
that.
what the paperclip means.
So, you guys know Bill Gates is on Reddit all the time, right?
Yep.
So he, after he basically drank the fresh water from the sewers, uh, he basically posted to Reddit. It's like Photoshop battle, do this, and like the first one was, I see you're trying to make clean water. Do you want help with that?
That's funny. I like it. It still says we're not live. Oh, he finally stickied us.
I think the reason why it doesn't say we're live is because maybe you didn't link it to an actual like Twitch or YouTube.
No, I should have linked right to it. Yeah, the YouTube goes right to it.
I don't know. You have to talk to Alex.
Listen, I don't need to talk to anybody. It should just work. People don't make these things. Magic does.
Right?
Apparently, I don't think there's just people on tonight in general. Like, I'm on the Reddit page. There's 8 people on there. Generally, there's like 40 or 50.
Well, I mean, I'm supposed to have like 3 people watching this show, and I know one is. I don't know about the other 2. I think one of the other 2 is on. I don't know about the third.
So who's our tell us about
she's
her. Is she gonna come on next week?
Next week?
So I think she's gonna try to just sit in on next week and talk, not actually talk about it. She went through a residency program through Google, which she's been trying to find a way to actively promote that program, and it's a great program from what I've heard and what my other friend offer basically said. So she's trying to reach as many people as possible, and I figured this was one way of doing it.
I'm kind of curious.
First off, who is she? Like, what's her name?
Teresa.
Teresa.
Yeah, so she also works at Google, so,
Yeah.
So she went
Here's what's
through
awesome about Google. The fact that she got even declined and offered the chance to do that means that she's still in like the 1% of all programmers.
I've kind of got a curious. Well, I'm kind of curious about something. Whether or not the residency program, the academy program, is meant to sort of balance out the diversity issue or not.
I don't know. Oh, by the way, to answer your other thing, or to comment on your other thing, apparently you could actually sign up for it now, or you can apply for the program now. It's not you got to the hiring committee, they thought you were good, but not just quite there yet. Try this. Now I think you can actually apply.
What movie was it that had Vince Vaughn and what's his name? There was a Google movie. It wasn't like by Google, but Google allowed them to make a movie about being a part of that program.
Yeah, I mean I mean it should be interesting. She should hopefully be here in a couple weeks to talk about it. I tried to convince her to do a Reddit AMA, which I know a lot of people on the CS Career Questions site have been asking about it. So
yeah, she should definitely do an AMA about it if she's trying to get more people knowing about the program.
Yeah.
It was called The Internship. That's what it was.
I watched that so many times before going here because I was bored, and it's like, how can I excite myself while waiting to start working? And it's like, let's watch a movie about it.
Apparently,
over and over and over.
You can win people over by walking around and handing out pizza.
Yeah.
According to the movie.
Holding it above.
It was a good movie. I love how they start out like, is this on? Can you guys see me all right? Like, yeah, back up just a little bit. He's like, oh, How about this?
We got cheek to cheek.
It was a great movie. And they hired them under the pretext of who would you rather be stuck at a airport with for 3 hours. Anyway.
When did they start their? Well, I mean these are all good questions for her.
Yeah, you'll probably have a bunch. I've got a bunch already.
Yeah. I mean, she may or may not be in one of our streams. She was supposed to watch, may have given up by now, since we're going on 2 hours.
Yeah.
I would. I've given up.
Yeah.
We're pretty much out of topics anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I'm excited to have her on just to talk about it because it is a cool program. Like, my friend got an offer for it, and he turned it down because Microsoft gave him one. But it seems like a really neat. Let's get more people introduced and hold their hand through basic. Here's what being a software engineer is, and then let them out. I mean, I kind of wish my orientation wasn't a week long. I wish I had like a month or something that actually walked me through a project.
I was just thinking that I bet you as a teammate, people that probably come out of those programs probably integrate like a lot better than somebody who actually just got hired.
Yeah.
Straight up, you know.
I mean, I think she's on the same team that she went through a residency program with. So
each team has their own kind of resident. Well, are they essentially an intern on this program?
I honestly have no clue. From what I've read, is you go through 3 or 4 different teams, and you rotate around for a year. And
holy shit! I'm looking at an advert for the Information Technology Residency Program in Dublin, Ireland, and it says it's a 26-month rotational role.
Yeah, that's not this then. This is like a year. I think she like went full time within like 6 months or something. I'm not sure. Like if you find a really good team, they can just convert you there.
Oh.
It almost seems like the conversion is like an intern conversion, but that she would have to answer all the rest. I don't know.
I can't. The only place I'm looking around trying to find. You said you could sign up for this, so I'm looking around for it. I just can't seem to find it.
She just posted this on Facebook.
So everybody, like, when you come into this, like, the purpose is that eventually all these people going through it will be like on a team for the most part.
I don't know.
They have like that's how the whole thing starts. They have like some Clint Eastwood type dude being like, I'm putting together a team and I want you to be on it. But first you gotta try out.
But you said was she doing the same work at her previous job that she's doing now at Google?
I don't know that either. So I'm posting something in the Twitch chat. I don't know if you want to post it to YouTube. That's the link she posted on Facebook to try to reach a bunch of people. So it's a link to Google's Google's hiring page, the careers page, where it explains it somewhat.
Cool. I will. All who qualified.
We're gonna have to put all this stuff on YouTube afterwards because like 90% of the people that watch this.
Yeah.
Oh, this sucks. Because
Well,
I
the
don't
fact
have
that
a
you didn't
computer.
really made it to the sticky until like later in the day, like.
I tell you, I mean, I really hope she does come on in a couple weeks and answers these questions because I have no clue.
Yeah, you should harass her. So were you talking to her about getting on this next week?
Yeah, she got really busy this week, so she pushed it to next week. And it's kind of I'm going to sit, talk, not answer questions on that, and then the next week I'll present. Well, she'll present.
It's she's going to be in high demand. You realize that? It's going to be like, oh my god,
Which is,
finally something other than four ugly bastards talking about programming. There's finally somebody of the opposite sex. Like she's going to have a fan base.
which, you know, if it gets more people to that program, I mean,
Well, the only thing that sucks about this, and I could still apply, they probably just turn me away, but it says on here that the Google Engineering Residency Program is a one-year program open to all qualified graduates who received a degree in computer science or computer engineering within the last year. So,
yeah,
I've done.
it's kind of a postgraduate internship, it seems.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say postgraduate. I mean, after graduating internship.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I see this on a lot of the ads though, or the job ads at Google though. Is just even though they say that 40% of the people that work at Google have no computer science or computer engineering degree, they still list minimum qualifications as computer science or technical related field. So,
I mean, I don't know. I assume that's probably the last thing they check.
I don't
Because
know.
I mean, I have a math major on my team, and I've known people who are other majors. So
I definitely know they exist, but it's just one of those like pet peeves about the industry that bugs me. Is just like, there's loads of people that have no formal education in computer science, and if you look at all the people that became CEOs of companies, a lot of them have almost zero formal education in terms of computer science, and yet HR still pushes out, you got to have a bachelor's degree in computer science to be able to work this job.
Yeah. When 90% of the people that first worked at Google did not, because there was no such thing.
I'm actually curious. Maybe she can answer that.
In fact, I'm pretty sure the founders didn't have one, because back when Google, the site itself, was created, there was no such thing as a computer science degree.
Yes, there was.
Yeah, I mean, Larry and Sergey were going for their PhDs in CS, so.
Computer science has been around since the freaking 70s.
Yeah. We were doing neural networks in like the 40s. I mean, my favorite sorting algorithm happened in 1898 or 1889. It was created in 1889.
I'm willing to bet you that less than 10% of colleges, like mid 90s to the 2000s, I bet you it's less than 10 to 20% actually had certified degrees.
Yeah, I mean, but not every CEO is Bill Gates. I mean, Larry and Sergey were going for a PhD. I mean,
Bill Gates was getting his degree in law, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Was he really? That just shows you how smart that dude is. It's like, man, I don't feel like doing law anymore. I'm just going to create a multi-billion-dollar company instead.
Yeah.
I feel like making software. Tomorrow I might become a doctor.
I thought about being a doctor once.
Did you?
I never did.
What steered you away from doing that?
I don't even have a clue. I think CS or engineering in general won me over before a doctor ever did.
I decided never to become a doctor. I don't have the work ethic for being a doctor.
I mean, I still want to be a doctor, just with a PhD title, not MD.
The PhD title is not nearly as great as the MD title, though.
I was joking around. I wanted to join the military after I got a PhD again, and I wanted to enlist, not be an officer, just so I can make all the officers call me doctor.
God, you're that guy it's like a doctor that got his, like a dentist that got his doctor, and he's like, you call me doctor. He's like, you're a dentist. He's like, Dr. Dentist.
Aren't dentists doctors?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
Or maybe that's chiropractors that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, chiropractors aren't.
Dentists definitely did not go through the same rigorous
Right,
Right.
but aren't like doctors in different terms like engineering is? Like CS is
They have different.
engineering or it's not or
Well, they all have different schools they have to go through. There's like you have to go to. Usually, if you want to be a dentist, you go to a dentistry school. But if you want to be a doctor in some kind of like internal medicine, you go to a medical school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are we gonna call it for this week then?
well, we're under 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What is our time actually?
Just
Almost
if
2
we
hours.
go for 4 minutes, it'll be 2 hours.
That's actually right about perfect.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, then we will catch you next week, where I'm sure we'll have interesting conversation and perhaps somebody named what's her name?
Teresa.
Yeah.
Teresa.
You can talk to
Um,
us about the residency program.
other
Well,
than that, it
she doesn't
looks like we'll be
really
doing
want to
this.
talk next
Oh,
week.
okay. She just wants to
but the
sit
week
and
after.
watch.
Yeah.
So it looks like
Okay.
we'll be doing this Thursday or Friday from here on out. We've kind of all decided that losing our Saturday nights suck.
Okay.
So
All
I
but
think-
one apparently.
yeah. So apparently that's what we're moving to. Anyway, we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.